Hi, I'm Dr. Ellie Anderson, philosopher and co-host of Overthink podcast, and I'm delighted to share with you some videos from a conference that I hosted in November 2022 called the Philosophy and Non-Monogamies Conference. I wanted to just introduce this conference a little bit so that you have some context if you go ahead and watch some of the videos, which I highly recommend. We brought together presenters from all over the world working on the nature of love, focusing especially on philosophies of polyamory and other forms of non-monogamy. And to the organizers' knowledge, this was actually the first conference of its kind in the US. Those who are within the discipline of philosophy will likely know that the question of whether or not love as we know it, especially romantic and sexual love, involves loving only one person in particular, or whether it can in principle be open to multiple, is a very burgeoning area of interest within philosophy. And so it was a great opportunity to bring people together to talk about this topic. So I want to share with you a little bit about the genesis of this conference and some remarks that I made on the first day of the conference, which I didn't record. So basically, I'm recording this as an introduction to the talks because I didn't record the actual introduction that I gave on the day of the conference in November 2022. I'm Dr. Ellie Anderson, and I know many of you know me from the videos that I do here or my audio podcasting work. We've actually had a couple of different episodes of the podcast on non-monogamies. There's an open relationships episode and a polyamory episode, as well as a monogamy and a marriage episode. Those are from early 2021. In my philosophical research, I've also written quite a bit about existentialist approaches to non-monogamous love, focusing on the philosophy of Simone de Beauvoir, and that's also a work in progress for me. My two organizers for the conference are Carrie Jenkins and Justin Clardy, and I just want to tell you a little bit about them. Carrie Jenkins is Canada Research Chair and Professor of Philosophy at the University of British Columbia. You may know her from her books, including What Love Is, which is just behind me here and in a lot of my videos, and her more recent book called Sad Love. She's an award-winning public philosopher and fiction writer. So she's also written works of fiction in addition to her books and articles on philosophy. I first encountered her work when a colleague recommended What Love Is shortly after its publication. Written in a highly accessible style and packed with exciting insights, I immediately started assigning it in classes, and I was delighted then when Carrie and I decided to collaborate on this conference in November 2022. By treating love as a phenomenon worth analyzing, we pave the way, according to Jenkins, and she writes about this a lot in her research, for transforming love and making loving relationships more just. So she's concerned with what she calls the romantic mystique, or this idea that if you analyze love, you're going to ruin the mystery of it. She actually thinks it's really important for us to use our philosophical tools to analyze the phenomenon of love, and has been very influential in philosophy for suggesting that. My other co-organizer for the conference is Justin Clardy, who is an assistant professor of philosophy at Santa Clara University. After meeting Justin a number of years ago and discovering our shared interest in the philosophy of love, I've been a big fan of his work and hope to find a way to collaborate. Justin has written numerous articles on polyamory, race, and the nature of love, and you'll find a further development of this work in his two forthcoming books. He has a book coming out soon called Why It's Okay Not to Be Monogamous, and one called Love Hates Us that focuses especially on Black polyamory. Before joining the department at Santa Clara, where Justin now teaches, Justin received his PhD from the University of Arkansas and was a postdoctoral fellow at Stanford University. I want to note too, as I'm talking about the two organizers for this conference, in addition to myself, the two co-organizers, that Carrie Jenkins had generous funding provided by her Canada Research Chair that allowed us to hold this conference in person and bring everybody together. We also had a number of really wonderful student assistants, and so thank you, if you're watching this, to those students who did help out with this conference. I also want to note that we had an incredible keynote speaker for this conference, whose video we will also be posting on this channel, and that is Elizabeth Brake. Dr. Brake has been really a seminal philosopher working on what she calls minimal marriage, this concept that she develops and coins in her 2012 book called Minimizing Marriage. And that book has had a huge impact on myself as well as on Carrie and Justin, my co-organizers, especially regarding her arguments against what's known as amatonormativity, or the idea that romantic love is the normal or ideal condition for a human life, and especially that it take a heterosexual couple form. She was the top choice for all three of us organizers when we were thinking about potential keynote speakers, and so we were really excited to have her. And a final very quick note on the impetus behind this conference. As I mentioned, it's a quite burgeoning area of philosophy. And I want to say a little bit more about where the philosophy of non-monogamy lies in this space. So, at the intersection of philosophy of love, social and political philosophy, and legal theory, philosophy of non monogamy has taken off in recent years, I think, thanks to a variety of factors. These include the recognition of the insufficiency of marriage law as it currently stands, feminist concerns with the heteropatriarchal norms for marriage and romantic relationships, the rise in popular discourse around polyamory and open relationships, especially among young people, decolonial thought, and doubts about the monogamous narratives of a lot of evolutionary biology. Thanks to the conceptual tools that philosophy offers, as well as its millennia of discourse on the nature of love, it's no surprise that the discipline of philosophy can provide a rich site for theorizing about love in ways that question the monogamous assumptions that have held sway in American culture since colonization. At the same time, philosophy is not known for always being a highly progressive discipline. And so American philosophy in the last century has been slow to recognize the importance of theorizing about love and marriage, even as you find theorizations of this topic going back to ancient philosophy. Luckily, things have begun to change, thanks in part due to the people who present at the conference. And I'm delighted to introduce again this conference and the talks on it on the topic of philosophy and non-monogamies. I hope the videos in this playlist give you some food for thought, and keep an eye out because we are also planning to develop these for written publication as well.